But I agree with you. You're not going to find Spell Pierce. You're not going to find Daze, stuff like Flusterstorm and stuff like, and those cheap permission spells. Those aren't really going to show up to the party here. They
Yeah.
might be in the sideboard, but and actually looking at the sideboard, those aren't even really there because it doesn't make sense to have countermatch like that in a Shardless Agent deck. So I actually think that Boswell is in really good shape for this matchup, especially when he has the deck list.
Yeah, I think he's in reasonable shape. Again, Lloyd is basically trading cards like Spell Pierce and Daze for Thoughtseize Hymn to Toruk. Game one, though, he has a lot of dead cards. However, his start is pretty good. He's got turn one Ancestral Visions, which it's obviously not going to get any better than that.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best turn. And again, he might not even get to actually cast it. But if you're going to suspend it, you got to do it on turn one. And it looks like he's got Force of Will along with the Liliana. It can even cast the Tarmogoyf on turn two if you want. So it's pretty much, he doesn't have any of the dead cards. He doesn't have a Baleful Strix or an Abrupt Decay in his hand or that one Toxic Deluge. Jace is probably even too slow right now as well. So he at least has all cards that are relatively proactive and can kind of help him win and control the early game. So can't really ask for more than that. And having that Liliana in the Veil in his hand is huge because it does give him protection from a Show and Tell Emrakul. Because even though you can't put the Liliana into play off a Show and Tell, you can put a land and maybe try to ramp into it.
Yeah, hopefully he draws another land. Now he drew a Thoughtseize for the turn to Kurz, so he's going to fire off with that, see if Boswell has a Brainstorm, maybe hide some cards here, but Boswell's going to set down the grip, and we're going to take a look at a Show and Tell, a Sneak Attack. There's also a Gristlebrand, I believe, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, there's also an Emrakul, and then a couple of lands. So, he doesn't have any of the cantrips like a Ponder or a Brainstorm, but he's got what he needs here.
Yeah, he's got lands. He's got the combo pieces there, and obviously Jace, a pretty good card in this matchup as well. So if he draws City of Traders, we can see that get online really quickly. So we'll see how this game plays out. Let's see what he decides to take with that Thoughtseize, though.
I think that you select Sneak Attack. I think that is the worst card for you to play against right now because Boswell could very simply just cast Show and Tell, put Sneak Attack in play, and pass, and then then things get pretty ugly here for Kurth. Kurth is, however, going to take Show and Tell. So Boswell's going to draw a card. He's going to put a Misty Rainforest into play. Not sure what the new card is. We're going to find out in just a second. It was a copy of Spell Pierce.
So good card there. He can actually stop Liliana from entering play if Lloyd decides to go for it. Lloyd just saw his hand. He knows he doesn't really have to worry about counter spells, but looks like he's going to play a Tarmogoyf here.
I'm a little surprised he didn't play Liliana. I actually would have.
Yeah, I
bet that he did.
It's not going to get any better than there, right?
Yeah, I'm truthfully surprised, especially when he has backup in the form of Force Will plus Brainstorm. But he's going to elect not to do that. Boswell just going to play a land, pass the turn back. To be fair, that play just might be correct not to play it that turn. Here's a Wasteland, but there are 3 fetch lands in play here for Boswell, so that's not going to be very good. Now here is Liliana, and now we're going to open ourselves up here to a Spell Pierce. So Boswell's going to sacrifice that right away. Going to go down 1 less down to 17 to do so. And he's going to get a basic on. I was actually curious what land he was going to get. If he was going to get that or a Volcanic. We saw him last match against Steve Mann search out a Volcanic very early.
Yeah, and having 2 other sack lands, I think there's no real reason to expose yourself just yet. But the squeeze is definitely on Boswell, because even if he's able to counter this Liliana, which I don't think he will, I think Lloyd will probably fight him over it. Or actually, he might let it resolve because he knows that Boswell has more combo pieces in his hand. So, and Lloyd's going to draw 3 cards next turn if he can. So
does make Tarmogoyf bigger too.
Yep.
Planeswalker in the Graveyard, so you can actually get a clock going here. Boswell going to draw a card. That is a copy of Emrakul. That's not what we're looking for.
That is a terrible hand.
Yeah. I mean, it's ugly. That's for sure. Here's the Visions. That's going to resolve. So Girth is going to draw 3 cards. 2 and 3. Let's make it a 4th one in just a moment for his draw step. So that is a copy of Shardless Agent.
All right, so Boswell got a little fortunate there that Lloyd didn't draw anything too crazy. Just lands a Toxic Deluge, which is basically dead. And he also drew a Shardless Agent. That's probably the worst card here, but it could just hit an Abrupt Decay. So not the worst situation for Boswell, but he really needs to hit a land.
Let's spin the wheel, shall we? Abrupt Decay.
All right.
All right.
Boswell got a little fortunate there, but he still needs to find land. Probably if he gets a City Traders, that'd be great because then he can actually cast, or any land basically, then he can cast Jace. And Lloyd probably has to. Actually, I don't know if he has to fight over that, but it'll at least allow, if it resolves, then he can brainstorm. If it doesn't resolve, at least he got rid of the Force of Will.
There's a brainstorm, and Boswell's going to cast that immediately. Couldn't cast it fast enough. So, 3 cards coming. Hit 1 and 2. Let's make it 3. Let's see what Boswell wants to do and what he found. Gitaxian Probe and double Force of Will. Yikes, not a land.
Well, he can still put 2 of the fatties on top of his deck, sacrifice a land, then cast Gitaxian Probe to try to draw into a City of Traders.
So here's the thing. I actually just thought about that. So let's say he puts 2 cards back, right? He sacrifices a land to make it a shuffle. Goes down to 8. Hard cast, or excuse me, alternate cast Gitaxian Probe goes down to 6. Sacks a fetch land goes down to 5. He's facing lethal then.
Well, no, if he gets City of Traders, I think he goes down to 5. He casts Jace. Lloyd might counter it. Then you fight back with your own force, and then Jace resolves, and then you just bounce Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf, okay.
So then you go down to 3, but then next turn you can just go sneak attack Griselbrand Emrakul.
As long as it's, I think it has to be City of Traders. It can't be Tomb, right?
I'm sorry?
It has to be City of Traders, not Tomb.
Yeah, it has to be City of Traders. Yeah. So I think if you're Boswell, you still probably go for it because you're facing 6 next turn anyway, so it's not going to get much better for you.
Yeah. Two Force Wolves were not bad, but the fact that he has to pay life for those isn't so good.
So it looks like he's just going to cast Gitaxian Probe here. So let's see here. He's at 8. He's going to take 6 next turn, dropping to 2. So a Jace won't really do anything for him, and it kind of turns off some of his outs here because he's got Scalding Tarn and Force of Will. He won't be able to cast it. So, well, it looks like it didn't matter because he didn't draw the City of Traders anyway. So
yeah, that's just an island. Gonna have to pass the turn back. I'm not sure if Boswell has an out now for his next turn.
Well, I think he's still. Let's see here. He's gonna go to 2. Yeah, that's the problem. Is that I think he might. If he has a. I don't think he has a volcanic island under there.
Yeah, he has 3 islands and then a Scalding Tarn. That's it.
Yeah.
So the Scalding Tarn, of course, can sack for a red. But let's say that Boswell just draws Volcanic Island. He can play that. I guess. Yeah. Okay. If he draws.
No, but he has to force back in order to get the result because Lloyd still has a force.
Yep,
so
okay, yeah.
that's going to be the last point.
Yep. That's it. I think that's actually it. Lloyd's just going to play a Pluto Delta.
Show and Tell. Show and Tell might do it.
Show and Tell put Griselbrand into play?
Yeah, because then the block and the life link, you'll stay alive.
This play's pretty adorable. Go after your fetch land.
I think if you think about it, Boswell has to think about what are my outs. You have to realize that you're probably only out here is, let's see here. If you get a Volcanic Island and you draw a Spell Pierce, no, that's not it. That's not going to do it.
I actually think he has to let this resolve.
I think he's got to let it resolve. And he's got to get a, he's got to draw Show and Tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think that's his only out.
Yep, you're going to get your Scalding Tarn wastelanded. That is what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good play by Lloyd.
All right, and Boswell does do that.
All right. Let's see if Andrew can do it. 1 draw. This is a Gitaxian Probe.
Oh. It's always the probe.
He's going to hardcast this, but this is not going to save him. Going to take a look. He's going to see the same cards again. Force plus Brainstorm, Toxic Deluge, and Verdant Catacombs. Mystery card coming. It's a Spell Pierce, and that's going to do it. So Lord Kurth is going to win game number 1 here over Andrew Boswell. Shardless Bug up a game over Sneak and Show. I actually expected Boswell to win game number 1. It seems like a pretty good matchup for him game 1, but he does get some pretty good tools after sideboard.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was a pretty, that Thoughtseize kind of put a wrench in his plan. He had a Show and Tell. He kept it was a solid hand. Didn't really have any of the ponders or preordains or the brainstorms that you need to kind of make sure you hit your land drops. Obviously, that hurt him because he got stalled on land there and wasn't able to ever get Sneak Attack into play. Obviously, there were several turns there where he could just win the game. Yeah. I still think that he's in pretty good shape for games 2 and 3.
All right, it's trivia time for 6 months. You ready for a question?
You want me to give the question?
You ready to give the question? Tell the
All
truth.
right.
Tell the truth.
No, I'll give the question.
All right, fair enough. SCG Premium, that's the hashtag you're going to use at SCG Live, so you should be following. Looks like got your 6-month question. Of course, we'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. Fire away.
Okay, so SCG will be running a Grand Prix in Orlando. What weekend will they be running it? It's in October.
It is in October.
Which weekend in October will be running it? Name the dates. It's Friday through Sunday. Which weekend will Grand Prix Orlando be running? It's in October this year. Star City Games are going to be running it, and it's going to be huge. I have a feeling it's going to be one of the big ones.
It is going
Limited, new set.
Yep.
People want to play it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And
Sweet
obviously,
playmat.
Star City, they run sweet Grand Prix.
We tried
Sweet
to.
playmat.
We tried
Sweet
to.
playmat.
You can name that weekend that we're going to be there. Hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following SCG Live. And as usual, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round, as we will turn our attention back to the match and the sideboards now. Lloyd Kerr taking a look at Andrew Boswell's deck list. Boswell can see Lloyd Kerr's sideboard, just like you guys can at home. 2 now Spellbound, a Null Rod, 2 Disfigure, 2 Flusterstorm, a Force of Will, 2 Golgari Charm, a Liliana the Veil, 2 Hypnotorac on Thoughtseize, an additional Toxic Deluge. What do you like, my friend?
He's got a lot of discards. So Thoughtseize, Hypnotoric, Liliana, the Veil, those 4 cards I love. And I love the Flusterstorm and Force of Will. So a nice combination of discard as well as counter spells. Obviously, if you're bringing in Flusterstorm, I don't think you can keep in the Shardless Agents.
Well, you can.
You can. I think there's basically 9 cards that he wants to board out. Or actually, there's definitely, if you're going for the Flusterstorm plan, I can see boarding out your Shardless Agents. But that means your Ancestral Visions get a lot worse. You have a Toxic Deluge, which has to come out. And I don't think you need all 4 Abrupt Decay, but I think if you know your opponent's bringing in Blood Moon, since you have that Swamp, and Swamp Deathrite Shaman isn't out for you, I think it's worth keeping in some number of Abrupt Decays. So I think it's kind of important for him to at least leave in some of those. Normally, you'd probably board out all 4. Like, Stephen Mann probably can afford to board out most of them. But again, even if you don't get a Deathrite Shaman, floating mana in response to Blood Moon is another way you can guarantee getting rid of a Blood Moon because they can't counter it, obviously. So I think probably Shardless Agent, Toxic Deluge, and maybe some combination of the Visions are going to be coming out. And he wants to bring in basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. So, yeah, I think I'd probably see him boarding out some number of Shardless Agents, Toxic Deluge, and then Ancestral Visions.
Take a look at the other side here. Grafdigger's Cade, 3 Blood Moons, Echoing Truth, 2 Swan Song, 3 Through the Breach, 3 Pyroclasm, Shattering Spree, and a Boseiju who shelters all. Much like our last matchup where Boswell did defeat Stephen Mann playing Bug Delver, you have to imagine those Blood Moons are going to be coming in, and that's a huge game plan.
Yeah, it's a huge game plan, and it kind of puts a little pressure on Lloyd because you don't want to keep those Abrupt Decays in this matchup, but you're kind of forced to. So Blood Moon's definitely coming in. We saw him bring in Swan Song against Bug Delver. I'd imagine he's going to bring it in this matchup as well. And then I kind of felt like Pyroclasm was really good, a card to bring in against Bug Delver, but it didn't look like he brought it in, and it's certainly not nearly as good against Shardless Bug as it would be against Delver. So those cards probably not coming in. So probably just Swan Song and Blood Moon we're going to see from him. And, he's got some work to do. He's going to be on the play this game, but I don't know. This isn't the similar situation to the last round. He was able to win. He was able to steal that first game. And I think that kind of really helped him win the match. Obviously, Blood Moon can resolve a little easier on the play. On the draw, I think it's a little bit harder, particularly because Lloyd has, Thoughtseizes and more ways to kind of counter a Blood Moon. Even just having 2 mana up, it's tough to just play Blood Moon into that knowing your opponent has Abrupt Decay. So we'll see how Andrew's able to navigate this. We'll see. Basically, I think he's still got a good shot to win this game, but obviously game 3 is going to be tough. I thought he was going to be okay because I thought he was going to win game 1, which meant that even if he goes to game 3, he'd be on the play again. So now it's going to be tough.
Well, Mr. Boswell, we'll take a look at opening hand. He will be on the play here. See if he can find a Blood Moon or something else sweet to do. Lloyd Kerr kind of feels like he stole game 1, honestly, but he was able to get the job done with the help of a rather large Tarmogoyf. So we'll see what Boswell can find here for his opening hand. You see a Boseiju, among other things. He's giving it a long
Wow,
look.
Boseiju, really? That's surprising. I guess it's not that bad. I mean, again, your opponent does have Wastelands, so not sure I love that card in this matchup, especially because you really have to worry more about discard in this matchup than anything else.
Creeping Tar Pit here for Kurth. Boswell, after playing an island. You see a Lotus Petal over there, and there's also a Brainstorm in hand. Good old Gristlebrand as well. Just going to play a Scalding Tarn. Maybe just, yeah, pass the turn back. Nothing too crazy going on.
Pass the turn. Let's just take our time. Let's see if Boseiju ends up helping him win this game.
I, like you, am a little bit surprised to see Boseiju in.
Yeah, I mean,
just a little.
Boseiju through the breach is good. Boseiju show and tell, I mean, knowing your opponent's going to have 3 Lilianas, it's not that
good.
I mean, it can be, but it can't help you cast Sneak Attack. That's for sure.
That's a touch awkward.
So let's see. Boswell using that Brainstorm, holding onto that Brainstorm to make sure he can protect himself from any discard. And it looks like Lloyd has a Golgari Charm in his hand. Yeah, it looks like Lloyd might have boarded into a Golgari Charm. That's another card that can do double duty. It can kill Blood Moon, but it can also kill Sneak Attack. So
there's a lot of times in this matchup, particularly because you don't want to have your Sneak Attack be taken by discard, that players will just run it out there naked and hope that they get to untap and then put the creature in play. I see that happen a lot.
Yeah,
However,
that's really smart.
Yeah.
Because Boswell knows he doesn't have Maelstrom Pulse. Maybe he doesn't realize he'd bring in Golgari Charm as well. But again, being able to deal with Sneak Attack and Blood Moon, I really like that.
There is Boseiju who shelters all. Pay 2 life, add 1 to your mana pool. If that mana is spent on an instant or sorcery, it can't be countered. So enchantment and Sneak Attack can be countered. You have to pay the toll to actually use that thing for mana.
Yeah, so interesting. He did draw the Show and Tell. So I think if he actually cast Show and Tell through the Boseiju, Lloyd doesn't have a Liliana. And even if he does, Boswell does have a Grizzlebrand that he can put into play. So he can actually draw a lot of cards, try to get a Force of Will to force the Liliana if Lloyd even does draw one. So I'd be surprised if Boswell doesn't pull the trigger and just cast Show and Tell with that Boseiju. So Boseiju might actually win him the game.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Quick update for you guys on another match. Spencer Agenda does win game number 1 here over Dustin Shiley. So Esper Deathblade up a game against Punishing Jund. Did not expect to see that happen. So Spencer was and is the 4 seed. Dustin's the 8. So Lotus Paddle. It's time to go.
Are we gonna see a Show and Tell? Let's see. I don't know. I mean, Boswell knowing he can get a Grizzlebrand into play. I mean, because if you can get a Grizzlebrand into play, you can draw 14 cards, and then if he's able to figure out some way to stop it.
Wow.
Is this gonna be a Force of Will targeting Lotus Petal? Interesting.
Oh. I did not expect that.
All right.
Hey,
so now I think Boswell's definitely going to start casting Show and Tell.
That resolves, is what Andrew says. He's going to slide some mana over here, and looks like, yeah, we're going to go the Show and Tell route this time. He's going to have to pay 2 to do so, but when you're putting
he's okay with that.
Yeah, when you're putting Force of Will as your Lotus Petal, that's a big sign of weakness, in my opinion.
All right, so let's see here. If you're Lloyd, do you play the Goyf here, or do you get a land into play? I think you get a land into play so that you can get 5 mana to play next turn in case you draw Liliana and you can play around Spell Pierce. I mean, obviously it's risky, but so it looks like we're just gonna see.
What a giant beating!
Oh my
gosh!
Unbelievable. Poor sequencing from Boswell. He does not see this coming. No. This is the exact situation we were talking about.
Yeah. So what Boswell does is he puts in Sneak Attack off of the Show and Tell. And he says, all right, I'm going to sacrifice my Scalding Tarn. And Lloyd Kurth says, hold 1 minute, please. I will sacrifice, and I will kill your Sneak Attack before you ever get to activate it.
What a blowout.
This is a beating for multiple reasons, but the biggest one is that the Show and Tell and the Sneak Attack, which was 2 ways to go off, now he has no ways to go off.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say just because the enchantment goes to the graveyard and boosts up the power.
That's another reason. It's bigger.
That's insane.
But his hand is now just big creatures.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. I actually was going to say, I wonder if Boswell should sack the Scalding Tarn just to thin out his deck.
Sure.
Because, you want to do it in order to draw cards off Grizzlebrand. So why don't you just do it ahead of time? because he's going to do it. You know, you're going to do it this turn because you want to draw cards with Griselbrand. So why not just do it before? Wow, great. And this is the thing. Boswell probably expected him maybe to keep in Abrupt Decay, but Golgari Charm, that he didn't think about that card. It's not a card you typically think is going to come in against this deck.
There are situations where you can get him with it. So now Tarmogoyf's going to come across here for 4. The thing here for Kurth is he's going to go reaching. He's got a Deathrite Shaman. His hand is not the best. What he needs to do is he needs to get this game over with immediately. So, you know, maybe fire up that Creeping Tar Pit next turn, Deathrite Shaman activations for draining. Get this bad boy over with because Boswell, it only takes 1 draw. And that's what I mean. His draw this turn was Show and Tell.
Oh, wow. So let's see here. Yeah, because Lloyd had him on a 2-turn clock,
Yep.
no matter what. Now, Boswell has a Show and Tell. What does he want to do here? He's got a Brainstorm and the Show and Tell.
I think it's got to be Show and Tell, put Griselbrand into play. Because at least Griselbrand, you can get some cards back. You can win the race, obviously.
I don't know.
Give
I
him a
mean,
lifelink.
but do you lead with Brainstorm here? That's the thing. I think Boswell's just afraid of Lloyd having. I think that Golgari Charm play basically shook Boswell to his core, and now he's just not sure. I think he's just afraid of a lot of different things here.
Is there any reason to leave with Brainstorm? I mean, there's not really a lot of counter matches that you have to play around. You know, again, he knows the deck list, so he doesn't have to worry about. I mean, yes, there's Flusterstorms in the sideboard, sure, but one was removed to Force of Will, so he doesn't have to worry about too much realistically. I think he's safe to just cast Show and Tell and just go for it. And there's not really too many bad things that can happen.
Well, if you find a Force of Will, you could actually Show and Tell an Emrakul into play. What's one possibility.
Sure.
Because then you can counterspell Liliana.
All right, Boswell is going to go with it. Looks like a Brainstorm. All right.
And the other thing Boswell has to concern himself with is that Lloyd did pitch a Flusterstorm to a Force of Will. So sometimes you might think, okay, well, maybe he's just really strong. Maybe he has a lot of counterspells.
There's 3 cards. Ancient Tomb is among them. There's also a Lotus Petal in there. Don't know the 3rd card that he found. Looks like it's just another land. So nothing special about that Brainstorm.
Wow, this is a much tighter game than I think either of us expected. Yeah, so Tarmogoyf currently a 4/5, it looks like. So wait, land, instant, sorcery, enchantment, artifact. Yeah, so I think Tarmogoyf is actually a 5/6. So let's see here. Either way, though, I don't think that changes what Boswell wants to do here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll check and make sure that is correct here really quickly. But Boswell's still going to continue to play his game, obviously.
So let's see here. If he plays Show and Tell, what do you think? You think you go for Griselbrand? You basically get to draw 7 cards. Deathrite Shaman came into play this turn, so it's not going to get activated. Creeping Tar Pit can come over for 3, drop you to 10. And then you go to 8. All right, so Show and Tell here. Let's see, I think he's going to put a Griselbrand into play.
It's a tough decision now. Which creature do you put in? I'm still in favor of Griselbrand. I have been from the start. He's going to go with
wow.
Emrakul. All right.
So this is going to be really tricky, though, because he's at 10 currently, correct?
Yeah.
So if he activates Creeping Tar Pit, drops into 7, drains him with with Deathrite Shaman, drops him to 5, he can actually sacrifice 6 permanents other than a Tarmogoyf and just kill him, right?
And Kurth even has a land in his hand.
Yeah, he has a land too, so he
Oh,
doesn't
no.
have to sacrifice the Polluted Delta.
Oh, no. Yeah, Kurth is going right for the Tar Pit. Oh, boy.
Yeah, so
Fire
this
that
is,
up.
I'm with you. I think you had to get the Griselbrand into play because of this reason alone. I mean,
the reason I want a Griselbrand play is just in case, Liliana shows up, I can draw some cards, but obviously you go from 10 to 3, so that's not an option. But assuming that you're able to get a hit in, basically I look at Griselbrand as the line of text we're drawing cards isn't even there. It's just I have a 7/7 lifelink.
yeah,
Can you beat that?
sometimes that's good enough.
Yeah.
And now Boswell's going to need more help.
But I believe he knows what he's drawing. He had a fetch line to play.
Yeah.
He sacrificed. Oh boy. I think he might be coming to the same realization that you and I are.
Boswell made a slight error here. It's the wrong fatty. Very rarely do you lose because you chose the wrong fatty?
This is
You know, I can't believe I lost because I put a 15-15 into play instead of a 7-7.
yeah. He's brought the wrong thing to class twice.
So yeah, here if Boswell attacks, Annihilator goes in the stack. Lloyd activates Deathrite Shaman, drops Boswell to 5. He sacrifices 6 permanents. He doesn't have to sacrifice either the Deathrite or the Tarmogoyf. Yeah, and
He has to. Oh my goodness. He just has to. And passing doesn't even really do anything,
No.
right? He just goes down to 5 now. He's going to untap. Blackwave Tarfay put him down to 2. Drain you again. That's it. And Kurth is sped up a little bit here
Yeah.
because he sees it. He says, "Get that out of here. Get that out of here. Get you out of here."
Wow.
Lloyd Kurth is going to win this match over Andrew Boswell, 2-0. Shardless Bug is moving on to the finals, defeating Sneak and Show.
impressive win there for Lloyd, honestly. And kind of vindication because he lost in the top 4 of the standards. So now he moves on to the finals.
One of these players are going to go back to the finals.
Yeah,
and try to